think we're good to go. I think we're good to go. Hi, Jessica. Good to see you here. Thank you. I've got one technical thing. So last week, interestingly, I had a couple of technical issues, which I didn't know about at the time, and I only found out after the fact. So I'm going to try and mitigate those. And it was a great lesson in detachment from the outcome. So let me just see here. And also, it actually sparked an idea for an article that I want to write about learning on the go and like learning with an audience when you are the novice and there are people who are witnessing your learning as you're learning. And it's an interesting sensation. It's an interesting experience. But again, it is a lesson in detachment. So it is all good. I am just going to try and check that I've got everything going on here. So please excuse me while I fiddle. Let's see if I've got this and if it is going. Oh, okay, one more thing and then we are good. So gather your bits and pieces for some doodling this morning while I try and get this all set up and finished, because it's all the two-step verification things. And there we go. Close. I think we're good. Okay, good. I think we're good. All right, now, fully present, back in the room. All the tech stuff. And I need to turn notifications off. All right, here we go. Hi, Sammy. Hi. Thank you for joining me. First time here. Welcome. This is my fourth time doing a live, so you're still, witnessing my learning process. Heidi, am I an artist? Well, as of an article that I published last week, I would say yes. However, I am a never-ending novice. And I have still much to learn. So I am not yet a professional artist for various reasons, but I am stepping into the identity and adopting the identity of artist. So if you are more experienced, welcome. If you're less experienced, welcome. If you're just as experienced, welcome. We're all welcome here. Jessica, I messaged you about my artwork from last week. Yes, I responded, Jessica. Did you not see my message? Thank you so much for sharing. That was wonderful to see. I really enjoyed that. Thank you. Hi, Kimbo. First time here too. Welcome. Where are you all watching from? Let me know. Yes, Jessica, check your messages. Where are you all calling in from, or not calling in from, viewing from? Jessica, you're in Boston, Massachusetts. Kimbo, Quebec, welcome from across up north. I am sitting across the river from Washington, D.C. I am in Arlington, Virginia. Kayla, hi, from Austin, Texas, welcome. Do you have a lot of snow, Kimbo? Yes, you must have a lot. It is, we are heading well into the winter temperatures here. We haven't yet had, we had one day of snow, but nothing to write home about. Hang on a second, I just need to get a tissue. We went to New York City a couple of weeks ago and came back with a cold, which I'm still getting over. So let us start our session today. This is another Zen Doodling session. This is a session that is intended to be a little bit of creative self-care. It is, as we know, the value of meditation, mindfulness, being present. This is all of those things, but including a little bit of creativity and playing with creativity, exploring non-attachment in creativity, because we are not here to, create lifelike drawings or to particularly, what would I say, develop a skill. This is a practice of creativity for the sake of that creative expression and flexing our creative muscles without the attachment to the outcome. So that's why I do these sessions. I have personally found that the more I have played with the Zen Doodle practice, the more I'm taking that experience of detachment into other areas of my life. The more I am detaching from an outcome in relation to doodling, drawing, whatever, the more I'm taking that detachment to outcome into other areas of my life. And it is a wonderful feeling. And when I witness that in myself, I find, that the needle moving in my own personal growth. And it can be minuscule. It can be a minuscule little move, but it is a move nonetheless. And that's why I find this practice so valuable, and why I create the space for us all to just allow ourselves that bit of tapping into creativity, practicing what it feels like to detach from outcomes, witnessing if we are attached to the outcome, and having conversations with ourselves about encouraging ourselves to let go. So becoming aware of, I am attached to what this looks like. I still have to work on that. It still comes up. I still notice that when I do get attached to the drawing outcome. I do other kinds of drawing. I love to draw cats and dogs. I'm moving into drawing family portraits, not realistic at all, but more kind of illustratory. And I have found that the Zen Doodle practice is reminding me in that practice of detachment of the outcome, so that while I'm drawing, I'm more in the flow of the experience and the practice of that, of the doing, of the being present during the process. And because I'm looser and more flowy in the practice of it, the outcome actually comes out better, because I've set an intention of what it is that I want to create, but then I lose myself in the practice and in the process of it, and because I'm not holding on so tight to the vision actually comes out better than I anticipated, and I surprise myself every day. So that, this is the going to the gym, This is us flexing our creative and detachment muscles. So I hope that that's what you maybe take away from the session. Of course, the session is unique to you. Whatever your experience is, what you need to take away and to reflect on, and find the lesson, find the learning, find the gift in it. Hi, Angela. My first time. I'm in Indiana. We had snow yesterday and it's freezing. Well, I hope you all have something cozy with you if you're in the northern hemisphere and you've got the cold weather. Maybe a warm drink with you, or a blanket, or maybe a cat lying on your lap, or a dog at your feet. Those are great hot water bottles. Lots of conversation going on in the chat. Yes, Jessica, leave perfection at the door for this practice. Just have fun. So the point of this. And also just being compassionate with yourself if you do notice the perfection. The point is becoming aware, the practice of becoming aware of when that perfection shows up, or when that attachment shows up. That's where change can happen. Jessica, I just drew a really cute cat in a stocking yesterday. It was through an online 12 days of crayonmas challenge I found. That's awesome. You must share that with us. Angela, have you ever drawn a Sphinx kitty? That's my Sphinx in my profile picture. I love Sphinx. My mom used to have one of them. They are beautiful, beautiful. Hi, Johan. Would you mind sharing what light fixture arm that is? I don't actually know what the brand is. Let me just see while I am here. What I will do, it's an Amazon special, and it is one of the best things I purchased for myself for my drawing, because this top-down rig is really quite cool, and it's got a light on the top and it's got a light on the bottom. What I will do, if you message me after the session or during the session, then I'll send you the link, and so just message me. Go onto my profile and there's a button there that you can message me. Right, let's get this started, the session started. I always like to start these sessions with a little drawing of a card, pardon the pun, to kind of set the intention for, today, the session, the coming weekend, reflection on the week gone by, or intention for the week ahead, or maybe just a little reminder. Okay. And this is from the Wellbeing and Wisdom card pack by Shamila Wilson. That's the pack that I'm drawing from. And so today's card, to get us into the groove. That's the picture. Thinking. I take care to focus my thinking on the positive, the possibilities, and the miracles. All these help me to stay focused and change my world. Well, if that's not a reminder of what's important for us today, I don't know what is. So thinking. I take care to focus my thinking on the positive, the possibilities, and the miracles. All these help me to stay focused and change my world. So the invitation while we doodle today is to think about your thinking. Witness, observe, pay attention to what you're thinking. And maybe there's something that needs reframing. Maybe if you reflect on the week that you've had, or the weekend that's coming, or the week that is coming, how can you reframe something based on how you are thinking about it? Okay. Yes, Heidi, you're like the symbols and shapes in her brain. They kind of look a little bit like shells. I don't know if you can see that. And it's very apt for the kind of doodling we're going to do today. All right, the second thing that I like to do to start the session is just a mindful breath observation practice. And let me just turn off my notifications. There we go. And so I'm going to switch up the camera so that we can get to our breath practice. Okay, there we go. And there we go. So you should be able to see my iPad. I am a digital artist. I do everything on my iPad using an Apple Pencil, using the Procreate app. But if you've got pen and paper with you, that is perfectly perfect. Whatever medium you like to use is up to you completely. So get your pieces of paper, get your journal, get your pencils, get your pens, and everything is, this is your practice, this is your creation. So whatever you have is just right. Please let me know as well if the music is too loud, too soft, if you can hear it, if you can't hear it. I'm trying to address all the questions that come up a lot. The music that I'm playing right now is a playlist on Spotify, jazz in the background. I get asked that question. Volume is enjoyable, great. Okay, so we're going to just take a little moment to witness our breath. So grab a pencil if you have a pencil with you, or choose a pencil brush on your Apple Pen, and get your wrist, your elbow into comfortable position wherever you are. And you're going to keep your elbow static more or less in the same spot, so that, but you've still got some movement in, with your wrist. So it's also kind of like a warm up for your hand. We can have some fluidity in your wrist, and also try and loosen your grip on your pencil so that you're not holding so tight. This, as I said, is my 4th time doing this live session, and I can tell you, I'm saying these as much to you as I am saying them to myself, because on day 1, I was holding this pencil so tight, and I was so nervous, and I was drawing lines that were so wobbly. And yeah, we want this to be a Zenful practice. So that is the intention. And it is such a good practice of awareness, and how our body affects our breath, and how our breath affects our body, and how both those things affects what we're thinking and how we're feeling. And also in this practice, this almost visual practice of our breath, we can see how we are actually breathing. So it's a great feedback loop. So you're going to keep your elbow anchored wherever it is. Have some fluidity in your wrist. Loosen your hands. And what we're going to do is just make some marks. You can have some movement in your fingers, and you might go off your page. So make sure you're using a pencil so that you don't damage whatever it is that you're drawing on your table or something else. Allow the fluidity, allow the flow. And you're just going to drag your pencil up and down the page in synchronous to your breath. I invite you don't have to if you don't want to, but I invite you to keep your pencil light on the in-breath as you go up, and then add a little bit of pressure on the out-breath as you go down. If you want to, you can close your eyes while you do this as well, because again, the practice of non-attachment to the outcome. And we're going to do this for 20 breaths. Okay, so I will count us through. I'm going to close my eyes, and let's just allow our pencil to show us our breath. Okay, so taking a nice deep in-breath. Out breath. 1. In breath. Out breath. 2. In breath. Out breath. 3. In breath. Out breath. 4. In. Out. 5. In. Out. 6. In. Out. 7. Notice how you're feeling. In. Out. 8. In. Out. 9. In. Out. 10. In. Out. 11. In. Out. 12. In. Out. 13. In. Out. 14. Notice your body. In. Out. 15. In. Out. 16. In, out, 17. In, out, 18. In, out, 19. In, out, 20. Okay. How do you feel after that? It's always good for me to have that process. An interesting design. Interesting marks. Mark making is the basis of doodling. And I always find that quite fascinating to have a visible, tangible representation of my breath. Okay. Hopefully you found that a settling in, a warming up, a loosening, a becoming aware of how you're feeling, where you're holding your attention. And I invite you to keep holding your attention or noticing how you're feeling, how you're holding yourself, where you might be holding tension in your shoulders, in your elbow, in your head, in your neck. While we draw, I spend so many hours drawing and it gets painful because I tap out of, I'm so immersed that my body, I don't notice my body. So that's part of this practice, noticing how your body feels. Move if you need to, get more comfortable, change up position if you need to. And then pay attention to your breath as well. Pay attention, as we are invited to, pay attention to your thinking, where your thoughts go. Oftentimes, when we are busy with something else, that's when we get the biggest aha moment, or that's when our brain is processing, the experiences we've had recently, in the past, everything. So this is good for the brain to allow it to process emotions, experiences, all of those things, or just sparking inspiration. Allow all of it. Pay attention, notice it. Okay, so grab another piece of paper before we get doodling. Angela, I was trying to see just how light I could make my line on the in-breath. And how did that go for you, Angela? And I love that it is both light in a visual sense, but also in a feeling, the lightness of that feeling. Isn't that just wonderful? Wonderful. And yeah, values in drawing, the light and the shadow, it's all connected. And interesting as well, that it can create a form, and you can't have a form if you don't have the shadows along with the lights. Isn't that a great metaphor for life? It was easier with my eyes open than closed, yes. Yours reminds me of a comet trail. That's so cool. Now that you say that, that's very cool. Yeah. Okay, so today, grab your new piece of paper, keep your pencil. So we're going to start off with a pencil. And today is going to be an abstract kind of doodle. I find, and this was a takeaway from last week's session, that the more abstract the exercise, the less attached I personally become to the outcome, because I'm not trying to make it look like any particular thing. So today we are going abstract and focusing on mark making, whatever feels intuitive to you. And I do want to invite you to make marks intuitively. So if you want to copy exactly what I'm doing, fantastic. If you feel called to do that. But if you feel intuitively that you want to go in a different direction, maybe your line goes left instead of right, great, follow that intuition. This is your practice. This is our individual experiences. We just happen to be simultaneously having our individual experiences together. Abstract is easier. You're right. Hi, Sammy. Yes. So have your pencil in your hand, and very lightly with your pencil, we're going to start making some marks, and they're going to be loose and fluid, very much like we just did with the breath exercise. And you can go, as I said, in any direction. I am going to start from the top, and I'm just going to draw a squiggle down the middle, maybe going out to the side, another one going out to the side. I'm going to start crisscrossing them as well so that they overlap. There we go. Now, your page size will affect, obviously, how your drawing comes out. If you have a very small piece of paper or a very small page, you're not going to want to do too many lines because it can get too intricate. This was a takeaway from last week's session feedback. So I want to remind you of that. If your page is very big, you can have bigger lines. You can also have more of them. So it's for you to kind of get a sense for your own page, what you have in front of you. The more lines you have, the more spaces you will have to fill in. Also, a note on that is that, oh, my phone, I need to plug in my phone, it's about to die. 1 second. I am filming with my phone at the top here. There we go. We are plugged in, we have power. What was I saying? Got distracted, I'm sorry. That I remember. We have about an hour or so for this doodle, and let us be open to the fact that we may not finish it in this session. That is okay. The invitation is for you to do what you can in the session and then continue it in your own time afterwards, whether you do that later today or you do it over the weekend, or maybe you never feel like finishing. That's also okay. It is your experience. Okay. When you feel like you've got the lines on your page all in pencil, what we're going to do is we're going to take the lines that exist here and we're just going to we're going to follow them again, giving them what is called in Zentangle an aura. And it just means duplicating what you've already got. So this big line that I've got here, I'm just going to do another line where I follow its shape. And we're going to do that for all of the lines. You can decide how thick you want the distance between the two lines to be, because that will impact, how much space you then have in the gaps available for us to fill. So this is all in pencil because we are going to erase them. Oh, so just follow your previous lines, just to kind of make roads or paths or however you want to interpret them. It starts to look like a lot of noodles on the plate. Okay, one more. Okay. So here you can see where we've got our, noodles. Let's call them noodles. Where we're going to start with our pen work, doing our line work with the pens, is in the spaces in between. So we're going to start filling these different shapes that have formed between the lines. We're going to fill those with some patterns. And now this is where my other fun little tool comes in, because the pattern that we're going to fill this with, of course, if you have a spark of inspiration and you want to fill it with your own design, by all means. But if you want some inspiration, I have that for you in spades. And this is my Zen Doodle pattern wheel, which is numbered 1 to 15, and I have a collection of Zen Doodle patterns. So number 6, the wheel has decided that I, and you are welcome to follow along, am going to fill the gaps with this shape. So this is one of my favorite Zen Doodle, Zen Tangle shapes to create. There's just something for me very calming about it, all the roundedness and the repetitiveness of it, and then I get a little thrill at the end filling it in. So just to give you a little example of what it looks like in the creation process, because I find that context helps. Here's a little video so that you've got a frame of reference. So we're just going to create the little flowers, fill in the gaps in between. Can you see this happening here? I find this very soothing, watching these forms take shape. It's as soothing as doing it yourself. And then we simply fill in each of the little petals of the leaves with a line and 2 dots. Okay, so that's essentially what we're aiming for. If you have any questions, please let me know. And so you can begin in whichever gap you feel called to do. And you can see that this is very much a process that invites that detachment from the outcome. It is just a process of creating for the sheer pleasure of it. How often do we allow ourselves to experience pleasure for the sheer sake of pleasure? Heidi, are we with pen or pencil now? We are doing pen now. So change over. You've got your lines in pencil, and now we're going to switch to pen. So if you've got a Sharpie fine liner, that's probably going to be the best option, especially if you're on a smaller page. If you're on a bigger page, you might want to do a thicker pen, maybe a Sharpie or something. Or if you've just got a roller point pen, doesn't matter. The outcome is your outcome, and however it comes out is perfect. Okay, so within each shape, we're going to just start drawing our petals and butting up against the edges of the existing lines. So the shapes, the petals are not going to be exactly the same. They are almost fluid because they're being guided by the shape, the edges of the space that we're filling. Your lines don't need to be perfect. If they're shaky, that's also okay. Your petals can be bigger, broader. See what works for you based on the size of your paper, what's comfortable for you. Remember to breathe. So many times when I'm drawing, I don't realize how I'm holding my breath. And then you can see that we've got these gaps in between. Now you can decide, completely up to you, whether you want to do the shape, do the petals in each of the shapes first and then fill in the gaps, or if you want to fill in the gaps now, completely up to you. You might also decide, I'm just giving you options here, if you have a gap between petals, you might decide that you're going to fill it in with another shape as if it is behind the existing petals. Or you might later decide that you want to fill these spaces with another shape completely. That's also okay. Maybe you want to do some circles in these shapes. It's your intuitive doodling process. I'm going to do this one shape in its entirety so that you have an example. What I also find very relaxing somehow when filling in these gaps is that that's when I get the opportunity to maybe smooth out some lines. Maybe I didn't connect the lines quite very smoothly, and so when I'm filling in the negative space, if you like, then I have the opportunity to clear up and round out the marks that I made. When I do these on my own, I like to allot like an hour to this process. Sammy, where do you put the origin point at the center? You can put it wherever you want. If you feel called to do it in the center, you can. If you want it to be in the crevice or in the corner of one of the shapes, you can, and then have the petals coming out. So it's your design, it's your practice. Ask your intuition where it wants that point to be. Okay, and like I said, I'm going to finish this one so that you can at least see a finished one. I don't know what it is about this step. For me, it just feels very soothing to add this long line, like the vein of the petal, and then 2 dots. Maybe it's a finishing off or a completion. Feel free to move your page as you work. Okay, so that is what we're aiming for. Can you see that? I'll zoom in. That's more or less what we're aiming for. But Sammy, to your question about that center point, maybe we start over here. What's fun about these drawings or these doodles is that it's like an exploration. I get curious about how what unexpected patterns will reveal themselves in the doing of the thing. So it's sparking curiosity. Like, what happens if I do this? What happens if I mix it up? What happens if I try something new? And these are great lessons and questions on a micro level that with practice we can use beyond doodling. So there's an example of one that is off-centered. Notice what your brain is thinking. I am starting to make requests when I sit down to draw or doodle. I request that my ego gets out the way. I request that my ego makes space. And I find that simple act has a beneficial effect. I find as well when I have that feeling, that physical feeling of letting go and allowing myself to be here now, doing this thing, when that part of me that is shouting in the background saying I should be doing something more productive, I find that when I do allow myself to let go, it's crazy how when I am in productivity mode, it seems to flow so much easier because I've allowed myself this little pocket of time. It's like changing gears. And rather than if you've got, well, I find for me, I can only speak to my own experience, but if I have a gap between, in the middle of the schedule of a day, a busy day, rather than scrolling social media, that this feels more therapeutic, this feels more beneficial. Because how beneficial is scrolling social media? And yet we allow ourselves to do that so often, so long. We've got no problem. Well, I can only speak to myself. Wasting time scrolling social media, and yet when I sit down to do a doodle, then my ego's like, this is not productive. Yeah, well, you're the one who sat 45 minutes scrolling, and you call this not productive. Let me know if you can relate. Or is it just me? And to make a ritual of it as well, one of the things I'm really enjoying about these live sessions is that there's a ritual to it, and I put on my music and I have my little card reminder, and I'm far more aware of how I'm breathing, how my body's feeling. I'm paying attention to those things that I would otherwise not pay attention to at all. They just happen without me noticing. And so there's value in that. Right there. Not to mention your fine motor skills. We're so attached to keyboards these days or devices. And I know that, I'm doing digital drawing here, but it's still the fine motor skills of holding a pen and working with a pen. And I remember when I first started getting back into drawing and doodling, my arm and my hand and my fingers and my neck and my shoulders were in so much pain because this is unfamiliar movements, unfamiliar practice. And I don't write with my hand anymore. When it comes to writing articles or letters or whatever, the act of writing for me, it's been years, because it's just so much more convenient and easier to type, which is a practice in our motor skills in itself. But there's something about doing this with our hands and the tactile nature of it. Sammy, you do relate. Great. Kimbo, it's unproductive to argue with your inner critic. Tell it to F off. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's also something, I think, in just acknowledging, yes, okay, I hear you. Thanks for your insight. Moving on. Angela, I used to spend 8+ hours on social media a day. I've weaned myself off and I'm spending 15 minutes a day. Wow. Angela, that is huge. And I'm interested what you've noticed about how you feel. How has it changed how you feel on a day-to-day basis? I can so relate to that. In a previous chapter of my life, I used to help women entrepreneurs with their social media. I was encouraging them to get onto social media, build their personal brands, and get themselves out there and be busy on it. And now, it makes me feel nauseous thinking about that. It has its place, obviously, in this modern world, but moderation. From 8 hours to 15 minutes. Tell me how you're feeling now. What are you noticing? Is your inner critic piping up? What emotion do you feel? Oh, Angela. I'm no longer stuck in a state of hypervigilance. I'm much calmer and less reactive when triggered. Oh my goodness. That's profound. That is profound. Speaks to the impact that digital space has on us. It's like an AA group discussing the amount of time on social media. I'm noticing lightheartedness. That's awesome. Yes, it is. It is like and I feel like the response for many people is that they do need to kind of treat it like an addiction, because that's exactly what it is. And I have read, and part of my own journey has been gaining an understanding of how the companies use those same principles of addiction to build their apps. And that's why we do things like this. Why it's important to have practices like this. For some people, I know they struggle to meditate. And this could be a starter. This could get them going into the practice of meditation, because many of the same principles apply. How is your page looking? My body is tense doing this, although I'm enjoying it. Okay, roll out your shoulders. Notice where you're holding the tension, and just stretch it out. Send some attention there, send some energy there. Oh. Get curious about that tension. Is it just your posture? Or is there an emotion attached to that tension? My creativity has soared. Artwork and creative writing. That's awesome, Angela. You're in recovery, 17 years of freedom from opiate addiction. Wow. Congratulations, that is incredible. Incredible. Sammy, I deleted SoMed some years ago. I haven't watched a single video this month except for Qigong tutorials. Yeah. An interesting, that's wonderful, Sammy. That really is wonderful. My experience of extracting myself from social media, and a big realization I had was that it can be beneficial if we use it with awareness and with intention. If you're using it as a resource of your own design, by all means, use it. But if you're leaving it to, I don't know how the algorithm decides, then you're just filling your brain, you're kind of handing over power to the algorithm or to whatever. And you're going to be influenced by what you're consuming. So unless you're curating the content, you are at the mercy of the algorithm, and you don't have the power. So you can either take back your power by extracting yourself completely, or clearing out, decluttering, getting rid of the noise and replacing it with that which enriches you and benefits you. Daydreaming is a different thing, though. That stuff is so addictive. I can have worlds away better than the current one and live multiple lives there. And that's where imagination and inspiration lives, isn't it? we can tap into our imagination. And even this practice is, it's a gateway to tapping into that imagination. And the more you lean into and trust your own inspiration, intuition while you're doodling or daydreaming, the easier it is to access that in other aspects of your life. Love that, Kimbo. The emotion is happy interest. That's awesome. So Sammy, you use it logged off and mostly search stuff so I can get better content than what the algorithm recommends. There is so much underrated, underviewed stuff. You're so right. Oh my goodness, you're so right. You are so right. Drowned out by the noise. That's why I love Insight Timer. Somehow it feels like a healing place. Not somehow, it definitely feels like a healing place. Remember to breathe. What do we do with the open spaces between the patterned parts? Do you mean the lines that we drew, or do you mean the gaps between the petal parts? Yeah, I love working with negative spaces. Feels like I'm eating chocolate. I love that. Oh, that's such a great description, Heidi. It's so, you know what it is? It's indulgent. I get that totally, that indulgent kind of feeling. I understand your description, the sensation of it. Just feels good. And how often do we allow ourselves to guilt-free do the things that feel good? To enjoy the pleasurable things without shame. Something we need to practice. Between the lines. So, Angela, to answer your question, what do we do with that? What we're going to be doing once we have completed the patterns is erasing the pencil lines so that the gaps become visible. And then the choice is yours. You can either leave them as they are, or you can fill them up. A pattern that I see often filling in the lines is little circles, little orbs. So if you have finished your patterns, I've still got a ways to go, but if you are there already, I'll just demonstrate on a section. If you feel called to, you can fill the section. Let me go. I'm trying to find a good spot to start. But now my brain is overriding, so I'm just going to go with it. So let me go with this because I have filled in the gaps here, so it makes it a bit easier to see when you've filled in the negative space. Let me just do this so that it becomes more clear. So in this section here where this line is, you might feel called to fill it with orbs or circles of different sizes. And that gives it an interesting effect. I believe there are some people who find looking at circles disturbing. I don't personally myself. I don't understand that from a personal experience, but I kind of like the effect. So if you feel called to it, you could do that. Or I'll give you options. I like to give options. You might feel called to do some lines, and I would well, make the suggestion that you do these because the gaps are smaller. Maybe you do it in a finer pen. If you have a finer pen, if you don't, it's fine. But if you do have a finer pen, maybe you do some lines like that. It gives a kind of tubey look, makes the lines into a bit of a tube. So ask your intuition what it feels like filling those lines with. I'm going to continue with my patterns. Are you familiar with the tangle pattern called Ribbon Rose? It's my absolute favorite. I don't know the names, I will be honest. Ribbon Rose. The image that is coming to my head, but I doubt it's correct, is this one. Maybe you can describe it. Maybe that's a design that you might want to be filling that section with. There's so many different options. This is an interesting design as well, where you start out with, let me show you the video. You start out with the triangles and then you fill in different directions. So similar leaf pattern, but keeping it to a total of 3, and then they're going in different directions. 3 or 4. This is also an interesting pattern that you could do in the middle of the lines. In the middle lines, you might want to do these kind of wavy patterns. Quite intricate. I love, this is one of those designs that feels serene while you're doing the lines. Yeah, so it really is up to you what you feel called to fill. And it's the experimentation of it as well. That's what's great about this kind of doodling, is that because we set out with the intention of detaching from the outcome, it opens up the space for experimentation. Sometimes, it has been my experience, sometimes the experimentation delights you, sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. This is, what's lovely about this is that this is creativity without demand, without, there's nothing riding on this. It's not a client who's going to judge it, is not a competition. So if you feel called to throw it away, you can do that. Transient nature, practicing detachment. Check in with your body, see how it's feeling. Where are you holding tension? Release it. I just found my hand holding onto my leg really tight. So let it go. So funny that our body can do things without us noticing. My hand is a mind of its own. It's a sensory awareness. Okay, last two. Thanks, Angela. Yeah, message me with the piece you've done. So what's interesting about Insight Timer is that we can't share images in messages. So, being a visual practice does add an additional layer of complexity, but it's okay. Every problem has a solution. So if you message me, then I will send you a link where you can share your drawings, whether it is from a session that you've joined here with me now, or you just love doodling. If you doodle something during the week, I've created a space where we can at least connect and share our creations, if you feel called to do that. But I'm not allowed to share the link here during the live, according to the rules. Thank you, Angela. That's awesome. Delightful or not. Right. I feel like I took a long time to get to this point. You guys have probably, because I've been talking, you guys have probably completed yours long before mine. So I need to now fill in the negative space. This is the yummy chocolatey part. Filling in the negative space between the petals and the lines. And this naturally, as you can see, then forms a border. It demarcates where the pencil line is. And when you're doing these practices on your own, as I mentioned, it's okay if you don't finish your piece in one sitting. That's okay. It's something to look forward to, or it's something to work on over several days. I like to come back to my drawings. I often will sleep on it and then have revived and renewed energy for it when I come back to it. We are, I feel, conditioned often to complete a task in one go, in the world of productivity. And oftentimes we suffer procrastination because we feel, well, we're not going to be able to finish this thing, so I'm not even going to start it. Well, this is a practice in letting go of that. You can come back to it if you choose to. if you do identify as an artist or a creative, I'd love to know how do you express that? What do you create? If you're not doodling, how do you express your creativity? What do you practice on a regular basis, or what would you like to? I'm always interested to know what people create. And circling back around to the social media discussion is when, the difference between consuming and creating. To become a creator, those platforms are valuable because they can be sources of inspiration, and perhaps it's an invitation, if the consumption on there is not serving you, to then, become a creator. What do you create? What can you share? How can you inspire others? Or just simply keep a record of what you create without attachment. Again, that is a big lesson learning opportunity for creators in detaching from outcomes. Like, create and share for the shared joy and process of it, as opposed to likes and comments and all of those things. Something I'm currently in the process of learning as well. Okay, Heidi, you're only halfway through. Good. I feel my ego just now, or my inner critic, was concerned that I was being slow and holding you all up. Detaching from that. Angela, poetry. Heidi, oil painting. Beautiful. Sammy, more than 100 people here. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. Incredibly gratifying. However, I also detach. As long as it benefits. I want to be a writer using Hello Poetry for sharing my poetry. I love that, Heidi. I love that for you. Maybe you can share some of your poetry with us. I know how vulnerable it can feel. I mentioned it in my last session here, and I'll probably mention it in every session, is that I'm in the chapter of my life where I've adopted the identity of being a never-ending novice. And so learning new things, being okay with being a newbie at figuring out my mistakes in plain sight, and it can feel vulnerable, but it's also liberating at the same time. And I think the biggest liberation comes from letting go of your own judgments first and foremost. Karen, hi. Counted cross stitch. I like to create my own designs and stitch designs others have made, but sometimes change the colors. I also paint for fun and relaxation once a month with a friend. And music and writing, Kimbo. That's so amazing. Creativity is contagious. It's the right kind of contagious. And remember, I don't know if you remember, I remember as a kid, when you know nothing and you're in the process of learning what this life experience is about, and then given the opportunities to dabble in all the things. Learning about drawing and painting and music and all of these different forms of creativity, and we allowed ourselves to just try it all. Somewhere along the line, I don't know about you, but somewhere along the line, I lost that. And it wasn't until late into my 20s when I reconnected to my creativity, and then it was like starting over, having to try all the things and, you know, to fit it all on, to give it a go, figure out what felt natural, what felt interesting, what felt inviting to explore deeper, or also what felt like it had run its course. I personally boxed myself far too early. And so now here I am, exploring. If you had told me at the beginning of the year I'd be doodling, let alone doodling with others, I would have said you were kidding. Here I am, and I'm loving it. I hope it is benefiting others in any way. And it's given me a deeper appreciation for all forms of creativity. And I listen to music more deeply, with a deeper appreciation of the artists from whom that music came, and how, you know, there's certain tracks that I grew up with that basically are the soundtrack of my younger life, and how grateful I am to the artists who created that, because it adds color to those memories, you know, and so it is with all forms of creativity. I'm grateful for the people who put their doodles out on Pinterest and YouTube, because I wouldn't be doing this if they hadn't done that. And I get so much enjoyment and pleasure. I feel so much gratitude. Like, gratitude and creativity, they're linked. Caring creativity feeds your soul. Yes. Sammy, I became better at adulthood after I read the book Adulthood is a Myth. Ooh, that's going to go on my writing list. I'm going to write that one down. Adulthood is a myth. Yes, I like that. A lot of adults are actually trying to be more childlike by unlearning the wrong lessons and habits. Oh my goodness, I can so relate. I tell you, I'm becoming more infantile the older I get. I'm definitely in that chapter of life. And yeah, there's something very liberating about it, because it is exactly what you say about unlearning. Karen, I was creative before I had children then. Other than music, I took a 30-year break, but one of the blessings of the pandemic and being safe at home, I rediscovered my love of cross-stitch and discovered art, painting and drawing. Yeah, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. And it is interesting. I mean, it's a journey, right? It's an adventure. And sometimes we do go down a road that takes us off track, but then we come back to it. We find it again. We're called to it. And I love that. I love that. And then you know you're back on the right path. And you know what? You've got so much more experience to inform your creativity. And so the expression of that creativity is so much more, it's richer as a result of your lived experiences. Oh, I feel like I have a much deeper appreciation for the Renaissance. Never really got it. Why were people sitting around drawing and painting and all of that? But I get it. Going to art galleries now, staring at one painting. Incredible. Things like not fast enough, not good enough, not relevant enough, not the right way, not the right time, not productive enough, not useful enough. Yes, those all sound very familiar. I'm sure so many people can relate to those excuses, those stories, that voice that screams those things. Misplaced values, right? Or the devaluing of these little pockets, these little moments. Adulthood is a Myth by Sarah Anderson. It's a comic book. Awesome. Short and easy to read, but full of funny insights and observations. Sounds like my kind of book. Thank you so much, Sammy, for that recommendation. I'm definitely going to be reading that book. Another great book that I got a lot of value from and was pivotal as well in my own creative journey. Also, easy read, quick, read it in an hour kind of thing, was Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. Great little book. And it was the permission slip I needed to just start creating. It was profound. Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. And it speaks to the idea that we have to be original. And it speaks to the idea that we, each individual, we are individuals and we have our own life experiences, and even if something we create is in some way similar to what somebody else has already created, and which it likely will, there will always be something unique about it because you made it. Your creative DNA is injected into this version of that thing. For me, that opened up so much creativity, flow, and like I said, it was the permission slip that I needed to just go and experiment and explore, draw inspiration from others, and I said earlier now, creativity is synonymous with gratitude, because how I express my creativity is directly related to others expressing theirs. Remember to breathe. Check in with your body. Get curious about how you're feeling. What's coming up? What is your brain processing while you're doing this? Oh, and I see that our hour and a half is 2 minutes shy of coming to an end. So I am going to complete my drawing outside of the session. If you would like to share, yes, there is nothing wrong with you. Ooh, I love these book recommendations. I think this needs to become a regular feature. There is nothing wrong with you. Hello, can I spell? By Sherry Huber. Thank you so much, Angela. I appreciate that. If anybody else has any book recommendations, please do share, whether in the chat or message me directly, and then I'll share them over where we can continue the conversation. The thing is that the time spent doing these leisure activities, which used to bring guilt or felt like a luxury, actually helps me function better and more effectively at the more productive things I need to do. Oh my goodness. Yes, Karen. Yes, 1,000 times. Absolutely. Kimbo, it did go by so fast. I'm also surprised. That took me by surprise. Layla, Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic is great. Yes, I read that one too. I particularly loved her describing the inner critic and moving the inner critic from the driving seat to the back seat. That visual for me just, penny dropped with that one, light bulb moment. And of course, The Artist's Way is fabulous. It is, Layla. I will admit that I have started reading that several times, and I keep not getting past chapter 2. So I need to pick that up again. When things fall apart. Oh, look at this. I love this. Thank you, Angela. When things fall apart. Okay, I'm going to list all of these. Maybe I must create an insight timer group where we can drop our recommendations. I think I will do that because I think there's a lot of value in sharing. And so I'm going to change the camera view. Thank you so much. Please let me know, what is your biggest takeaway from the session? I think you've already shared a lot of your own insights, and I'm grateful for that. My biggest takeaway from this, for me personally, is about letting go and allowing flow, like getting out of my own way, letting go of control, and making space for that flow. I think that's my takeaway. There's so many tasks. I think the secret is in the choosing and not trying to do them all. Oh, yes, 100%. 100% prioritizing, Layla. When things fall apart is tough advice. Have to read it slowly. Okay, good call, Sammy. Thank you. Totally agree with that. Gotta let go and relax. Yes. Being still and in the moment. Yes. So valuable. That is so valuable. Thank you so much for joining me here this morning. Whether you were joining in with the drawing or you're just joining in the conversation or just listening to the music or watching the unfolding. I appreciate you sharing this space. Karen, there was a free Coursera course on the science of well-being which teaches about how these types of things and others like meditation and exercise add to our well-being. 100%. I think I've looked at that course and you're nudging me to go and look at it again. Absolutely. Divergent thinking. No, not divergent. That's the wrong word. I can't think of the word, but it is when we get out of our head, out of focusing on the problem and focusing on something else, then our brain is able to process whatever the thing is. And that's why we get so many of our aha moments in the shower, because we're busy with something else and our brain in the meantime, without us knowing, is processing information. And this Zen doodling is akin to that. So I do hope that you found some value in it. If you would like to send me a message, if you want to share your final piece once you've finished it, then you can head over to my profile, click the 3 little dots on the right-hand side, and then message teacher, click message teacher, and you'll be able to send or communicate with me. If you've got any book suggestions, please do share that as well. And I was meant to set it up and I haven't done it yet, but I will be doing another live session next week. However, it will likely be on Thursday because Friday I'm driving to New York City, so won't be able to do it on the Friday. So it's going to be a Thursday session next week, another 90-minute session. And yeah, that will bring this session to a close. I hope that you've found value. And once again, thank you so much for joining me. And have yourself a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of the weekend. Tap into your creativity. Give yourself the gift of the time and space and attention to just practice experimenting with your creativity. Detach from the outcome and honor yourself with this kind of time. You deserve to feel pleasure. You deserve to feel a break from adulting. Why not? We all could do with a break from adulting, and this is a wonderful way to do exactly that. So please do that for yourself. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for all the love. I feel it. I appreciate you. Bye.